welcome back to Swordbox. Thank you for taking some of your day to spend time with us. We've been talking about sexual addictions, and I'm not going to spend time going into details about specific sexual addiction, so to speak, but we all know how many perverse things are going on and how much sexual addiction is in our culture today. Instead, I want us to begin today to look at how we can stop the sexual addictions in our own lives, or how we can avoid it altogether in our lives. And I believe it begins with what Job did in Job 31 verse 1. He said, I have made a covenant with my eyes. Why then should I look upon a young woman? Job was a married man. He had a family, but he still had eyes, and he still had the capacity to lust or to be unfaithful or to become sexually addicted to any type of perversion, just like we do. Realizing this, and because Job feared God and loved God, he made the decision not to look upon or lust after young women. We, like Job, must make the decision not to feed our lustful desires, not to look on someone with lustful desire and intent, to make sure that our eyes do not control our mind and our body, but rather allowing our minds to control our eyes and our body. In verse 7, Job continued to make his case to his friends and before God that he had done nothing to deserve the suffering that he was experiencing. He said, if my step has turned from the way, or my heart walked after my eyes. It starts with what we see. What pleases our eyes and our hearts can quickly follow right into sin. Jesus knew this, and he gave us very strong warning that drove home the importance of our eyes and what we look at and how we look at it. In Matthew 6:22 and 23, he said, the lamp of the body is the eye. If therefore your eye is good, your whole body will be full of light. But if your eye is bad or evil, your whole body will be full of darkness. If therefore the light that is in you is darkness, how great is that darkness? If our eyes are focused on our lustful desires, our hearts will follow, and our minds will be in bondage to sin. However, if like Job we make a covenant with our eyes, refusing to look and lust, then we can live free from the bondage of sexual addictions. Jesus said in Matthew 5:28, but I say to you that whoever looks at a woman to lust for her has already committed adultery with her in his heart. You see an attractive person, but you just keep looking and you keep staring and you keep desiring and lusting. That's adultery, not just being a guy like our culture wants to tell us. And so it's damaging and sinful. And so Jesus used an extreme illustration to show just how serious lust and adultery are. In verse 29, he said, if your right eye causes you to sin, pluck it out and cast it from you. For it is more profitable for you that one of your members perish than your whole body be cast into hell. We are responsible for what we choose to look at, and what we look at has a big impact on our lives. We can cave into desire and lust and be as those described in 2 Peter 2:14, described as having eyes full of adultery that cannot cease from sin. That's where it leads. The lust of the eyes, which began the day Adam and Eve sinned, and their eyes were open, and they knew they were naked. That ain't from God. Now we cover up our bodies with clothing. Why? Because of sin. And when people choose to take them off, to show off their bodies and be bold and bare where God said to be modest and clothed, we need to put our eyes someplace else. And it's not always easy. We all like to look at beautiful things. But keep in mind, Proverbs 27:20 says, hell and destruction are never full, so the eyes of man are never satisfied. You can't look at enough pictures or videos or nudity to ever come to a place of satisfaction. It only increases the desire to see more and more and more, and creates a perverse mind and attitude about sex, making sexual fulfillment impossible as intended by God. We're going to talk about more ways to keep us from sexual addiction or get us set free over the next days. Remember, though, it all begins with our eyes. There are eyes also on each one of us, and it's God's eyes. Proverbs 13:3 says, the eyes of the Lord are in every place, keeping watch on the good and evil. And he's keeping watch on what we're doing too. And what we're doing needs to glorify him. God bless you. We will see you back here tomorrow on Swordbox.